back in Vancouver. And just want to recap on this week. Been traveling, meeting up with Muslim Bitcoiners, Muslims in general in ICNA, and then after that, I was at Vegas for Bitcoin 2025. And yeah, it actually kind of concludes about 5-6 months of my exploration. I've been kind of traveling and visiting events after one event after another, literally, almost one every month since Jan, and really trying to immerse myself into the space, into the Bitcoin space, Bitcoin development, Bitcoin users, Bitcoin business, just really trying to flesh out the opportunity that we can explore. Because I pivoted the company towards Bitcoin lending and just generating liquidity. And in those journeys and trips, I think it was also a exercise in discovering myself and my own interests and my own and really understanding where my own resources and strengths lie, and how I can best merge them, really for the ikigai, right? To get the best of both, and to get, I don't know both of what, but to get the best for my existing customers and investors, as well as new customers and investors, and extract the best opportunity, I guess, for Bitcoin and for people who are not yet Bitcoin. Let's just say that, people like to call them no coiners in the Bitcoin community, but without trying to be politically correct, I really just think everyone is just a pre-Bitcoiner. The event itself, Bitcoin Vegas, lots happening. I think I kind of mentioned a bit about that earlier. The highlight for me was actually spending time in the Ordinals community, and I'll explain a bit more about why I really love the Ordinals community. But we were there at the David Copperfield Mansion with the Bitcoin Startup Lab and the Pizza Ninjas, going through a bunch of panels and just really working with founders. And I think that's the number one thing I like about the Ordinals community. You'll find most of the founders and developers in Bitcoin in that community, in that area. Very supportive, very everyone shares that journey, that ability, and there's something very unique, I think, in developing in Bitcoin that Trevor Pizza Ninjas and Bitcoin Frontier Fund was sharing, that you're both competing and cooperating, because you have to, everyone's developing infrastructure and protocol, and you have to collaborate on the protocol while competing on the business use case and attracting customers. And I actually pitched the company in a different pivot yesterday, and it was in line with the whole Ordinals story. Ordinals are inscriptions. They're not Bitcoin. They are a meta protocol on Bitcoin. I think I want to be clear about that, because in some sense they are a form of fiat. You declare a value in an ordinal and therefore it has value. That's fiat, and I think it's important to accept that. And in accepting that, I think you invite more people to talk about it too. So, and what makes ordinals cool or unique is that there's always some Bitcoin attached to an ordinal, like 333 sats minimum. And that in some sense, people say that ordinals are never going to zero because there's always some little bits of sats in them. Now, it's a bit of a stretch, but I do see value in that. I do see that if you could have an ordinal or an NFT, right? And that's, I think, the whole promise of NFTs is people are like, this could represent investments, this could represent assets, the digital asset, the IP can represent the real asset. And that's when we're really going to be able to bridge DeFi into the real world and TradFi. Might be a little optimistic, yet what I see in connecting the two is that every real world asset, I think, needs Bitcoin. That's what's really going to connect and glue the two together. There are tremendous counterparty risks when you're trying to do real world assets, and really I think that's the reason why only stablecoins have really truly succeeded and everything else is still lagging behind. There are management risks, currency risk, obvious credit risk, and these really valuation risks, like how to even price things properly, right? And all these things add many barriers. Hi. All these things add many barriers to the adoption and use of real world assets. But if you could cap the risks or cap the loss, and I think that's what it is all about. Like in many senses, if you're not investing in Bitcoin and you're in the crypto space and you have a real world asset, it's like multiples of risk. It's like you're short Bitcoin, you're taking on additional risks in between, and you're hoping for a fiat payout. Like it just doesn't make sense. Now, if you put Bitcoin in there and you're like every asset is backed by some Bitcoin as well, like that's the additional deposit or collateral, suddenly it's a lot more interesting. Suddenly you have Bitcoin upside. You have the opportunity to access discount Bitcoin while keeping fiat if you need to keep fiat. And just like how ordinals all have a little bit of sats in them, I believe it's my mission now to put a little bit of sats in all real world assets. And we're starting with, our previous business with cars. As I guess this is where you hear it first. We are sincerely making the effort to set up a new fund and start doing deals again in a more efficient and effective manner with AI. I think we started that business before AI became a thing, and really AI transformed everything and has allowed us to run operations so much better. So I think really doubling down on that experience while plugging Bitcoin into it, keeping deposits in Bitcoin, keeping everything backed by Bitcoin, and giving people who are, more used to a fiat yield and want a fiat yield or need a fiat yield, offer them that Bitcoin upside as well, and really truly encourage them to jump off the bank rails and start actually using DeFi, start actually using Bitcoin. Because I think that for me has been the real mission since the very beginning, even with the cars. Like the cars were not the end game. And in many ways, my own end game was, and is, how do you bring sound money? How do you bring Bitcoin to the world and make it accessible, usable, and effective, especially at reducing the cost of borrowing or reducing the cost of capital for all parties involved? And I'm like, it's like the solution's staring me in the face. Now, there's many other pieces in between that we need to build out, get creative and work with our customers on. But the core concept is, I think, it's already been made. I think that's all for tonight. There'll be more. I gotta catch up on a few videos as well, and you'll hear from me on the daily. Thank you. No more traveling though, I think, for this year, unless something really and someone wants me to talk somewhere. I'm taking invitations to talk somewhere, but yeah, I think I'm done traveling for this year so far.